welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I have interesting strangers on every single week. Today, if you would like to introduce yourself, we have Charity on.
I'm Charity Ekpo. I'm a designer and illustrator and letterer here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and when did you first start getting interested in like arts and illustrating and things like that? Did it happen at an early age or was it later in life?
I've been interested in art since I was a kid. I watched my sister, growing up, I watched my sister drawing all the time. I wanted to be just like her and I want to be just as artsy and as skilled as her. So that's something that I've been wanting to do since I was probably old enough to hold a pencil.
Is it older sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's, I think, around 10 years older than me.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, she was even, around teenager age, she was still really, really good. So
does she still draw and stuff or no?
Oh yeah, she's still drawing. She's an amazing artist. She majored in sculpture at MyEd, so she's a phenomenal 3D artist as well. So shout out to you, Care.
I was gonna say, sometimes you get older and you sort of lose interest in that for whatever reason, but yeah, because
still going with that.
Yeah, because when I grew up, I'm not the best drawer or artist at all. Mm-hmm. And when you take art classes in elementary school and stuff, and you're not very good compared to other people, it really makes you not want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you just gotta stay inspired and just keep practicing. I know that, even at a young age, when people would see my work, oh my gosh, I wish I could draw like that. I'm you can. If you just practice, you got to put the effort in, with anything. You're not going to be phenomenal at it from the start. No matter when you decide to start drawing, as long as you just are passionate about it and keep practicing, you're going to get better. That's just kind of how it works.
Yeah, I think I could get better, but I don't think I ever would be
yeah,
really.
If you don't have an interest in it either, then that works too.
Yeah, that becomes a problem because I feel there are other things that I'm way better at than I just feel I don't have the skill set to. I mean, I look at your stuff and I'm wow, that's really impressive. I could never do that. Even if I tried for a really, really long time, if I dedicated my life to it,
I think you could.
Maybe I could I can trace stuff pretty good. So I would just, I'll just trace
you
stuff.
Draw over it and be aren't I amazing?
Yeah. It's funny because my fiance, for one of her birthdays, I made candles for her, but I did all this illustration for the labels. I didn't draw a thing. I just traced everything. And it turned out really well because it wasn't my artwork. I was just tracing something.
You present that as your very own original piece. You're dang, look what I did for you.
Look how amazing this is.
Your illustration here.
I bet you didn't know I could do this.
Right. Aren't you so lucky to be engaged with someone like me?
I know. Secretly, I can't. But at what age, do you even remember when you were sort of looking up to your sister who was an artist? When did you even start? Do you remember?
3 or 4. I don't have, it was, I was pretty young and I don't know how amazing my pieces were. They probably weren't top tier. Even just still being able to draw with her or just being able to watch her draw was an amazing moment for me. So
yeah. Was there a significant memory or piece that you did that you can remember that you still that I really enjoyed that, or even something that she drew that really inspired you to keep going?
I can't remember a whole lot of my drawings from way back in the day, even though she actually kept a few of them and had pulled them out later on in my adult life. And I was oh my God.
You gotta do a side by side of then and now.
But I guess a more specific activity that we would do together sometimes is that she would just draw something I don't know, it would just be anything. And she would give it to me and then I would add my own little doodles to it. And then I'd give it to her and she would add her own things to it and just kind of pass it back and forth. So, I don't remember specifically what those pieces looked like, but that was a fond memory of mine of being able to draw with her and collaborate with her.
Yeah. My parents, they kept all of that stuff, all the art and stuff. I'm why did you keep it?
This is so great to look back on and just look at the stuff that you love to draw and that just really drew your attention. And
Yeah, it really makes you think like what kind of child you were. Because I like look back, I'm like, what was I thinking when I was doing this? Where did my inspiration come from?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's weird to look back on that stuff. Yeah, and it's all in our basement, all in boxes. It's like no one
Yeah.
looks at it, but we have it. So
Yeah, I wish I kept some of my older drawings. Like it's like some of my siblings have some of my, really early work, as I guess you would say. But yeah, I think I just end up throwing a lot of my stuff away. I was like, whatever, I'm not going to need this. Like, I don't care about this piece. But like,
yeah,
it's fun to look back on and see your really old work.
yeah, the really old stuff, you know. But so do you come from like, did you get pushed to sort of go in the artistic way? Because I've talked to a lot of different artists, and growing up, for some of them, it was like no one told them that they could make it into a career or like do anything with it. It was basically like, oh, you can draw as a hobby or something.
Yeah.
Were your family like supportive of this because of like what your sister was doing?
Yeah, they were super supportive. I mean, a lot of us were kind of artsy to begin with. Like, one of my brothers is like into film and videos. The other one's like a dancer. The sister I was just talking about, she has been like drawing her whole life. So yeah, we're like already a pretty artsy family. So it wasn't hard to like back a decision like that. Again, I think I was just kind of watching her and seeing what she did and seeing what was possible. It was always something that I was planning to do with my life. I just didn't really know how that was going to look. Like, I don't know. At the time, I wasn't really sure how that would translate into like a full-time job.
Yeah, I think that's a tough thing with any sort of artistic endeavor. It's like you don't really get examples unless you have like parents that do it. Like you don't get examples of like how this is applicable, you know, and how you can make money and live off of this.
Yeah, it's like, or you see it and you just don't realize that that's like something that you could do. Like that's how it was with me for design. Like I don't think I even really learned that that was a career path until I would say maybe my junior year of high school. Like I was introduced to that through a class that was about like digital design and digital art and things like that. And so after seeing that, I'm like, well, that's kind of fun. And like, that seems like a career that I could do. So I went into it from that. But like other people who might not have that exposure to the design field and realizing like just how many opportunities there are in graphic design to work full time. Like,
so what do your parents do? Because you have like an art institute as siblings, you know, like everyone's doing something. Are they involved in art?
Major.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Do they do artistic stuff or what do they do?
I guess I would say the most artsy thing that my mom did was like creating cakes for us. Like, I mean, it was cool to me. Like she would draw our favorite characters and everything on our birthday cakes. So that was always like an exciting moment whenever your birthday came around. I was like, I want this character. I want that character. Like one year I wanted a little like Shadow Heartless on my cake from Kingdom Hearts and she drew that and it was like the best cake ever.
Wow. Was that before? Do you have a picture of that? Like of that cake?
I probably do somewhere like back home. It's probably buried in like a picture box somewhere, but
yeah, it's interesting though that like basically all of your siblings got into the arts, you know. It's just a very interesting thing because usually it's like some of them do and one of them's like an accountant, you know. There's that stray one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like not every single one of them like went into doing it for a career. Like I think half of us did, the other half are pursuing other things. But it's great that I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family that was supportive of that and was like, no, there's no way. Like, what are you thinking going into an art career? Like, you're not going to make any money off of that. There's like plenty of people are like, I don't know how to like convince my parents that this is like a great and a good thing for me to do. And I'm like, damn, like, I mean, it depends on what you go into. Obviously, it can be kind of hard to find a full-time job, but I wouldn't just completely shoot it down. It's like we're surrounded by art every day.
Yeah.
I think people forget that. I mean, you know, you watch movies, TV shows, you listen to music, you're using your phones, like all this is designed and all of it takes creative minds to create it. So like someone's got to do it. So obviously there's got to be some kind of job available for that. So,
you know, it is true. It would be tough to be like, already in a career path where you don't know necessarily where it's going to go, and also having your parents be like, this is stupid.
Right. It's like, could you help me try and like figure out a path?
Yeah.
Just like completely dismissing it and not even like giving it a shot or looking into it. But
since you still like you draw and you illustrate now, like what does it do? Is it therapeutic for you? Is it a way to express yourself? Like what do you get out of that artistic expression?
Yeah, I guess it is pretty therapeutic because it's a great way to get your thoughts and ideas out there, but like in a more creative way instead of just maybe just saying it to somebody. It's like, here's a whole piece that I created that's dedicated to, this thought or maybe this movement or whatever it might be, or like your favorite, listening to your favorite bands. It's like, instead of just being like, oh, I like their music, it's like, I'm going to create a whole piece that's like dedicated to my favorite song. So yeah, it's definitely very therapeutic for me.
Yeah. Like when you look back, can you see like phases that you went through based on like what you drew and like what you were into?
Yeah.
Is there any particular one that like really sticks out to you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I had such a like moody, edgy, kind of like eerie kind of phase where I just like drawing monsters and used a lot of dark colors and things like that. But I also still like drawing like really cute and frilly stuff. So I don't know, it was weird. I liked both directions, but
yeah. Because how did you get to the point where you are now, like with your style and like your aesthetic? How did you even like find that? Because if you look at your like Instagram feed or even your website, everything is pretty cohesive, as far as like the pieces and things. You definitely have a style. So where does that, or how did that develop, do you think?
It feels like maybe like mood wise, it's maybe similar to what I've been doing for like a good chunk of my life, I guess, like maybe since high school and junior high, but now it's just like a little cuter. And like, I've just enjoyed exploring more vibrant colors in my work after like years of pretending like I don't want to use vibrant colors because it's seen as like too fragile or maybe like too weak or whatever, and like it's just seen as like too feminine. It seems like anything that was related to being feminine was seen as like fragile and weak and stuff like that. And just growing up, I'm like, that's so dumb that like I thought that like, yeah, these are some very beautiful, fun, and vibrant colors, but that doesn't mean like there can't be some like sass or attitude that comes with it. So for me, it was just fun to like incorporate these like super playful colors, but still having maybe like a more serious topic or maybe some kind of like, I don't know, mischievous mood, like just combining those two are something that I've enjoyed a lot. But yeah, it's great just growing up and growing out of those like mentalities and just looking back and realizing, wow, like I believe some of that stuff, or I went along with some of that stuff. It's like ridiculous. Just kind of feels like a part of you got held back that, you wanted to express but weren't able to because you just didn't want people like think less of you.
Yeah. So like, since you do this as like a job and a career and you do like it outside of it, how do you like balance doing it because you like it and also the job part? You know what I mean?
I think when I first started working as a design intern and things of that nature, it wasn't super hard for me to feel inspired to want to go back home and just start drawing stuff that I liked because, a lot of the client work that I got wasn't maybe falling in line exactly with the kind of illustrations I want to do, or maybe the certain color palettes I wanted to use. And it wasn't hard for me to go home and be like, okay, now I want to do stuff that I want to do now. And so I would just spend time doing that. But I think nowadays when I'm working full time and I'm taking on more freelance projects, it does get pretty exhausting to the point where like, once I have a minute for myself, I don't really want to draw right now. I don't want to open up Photoshop or Illustrator. I just want to like watch TV. But yeah, I guess it's just when I find that I have some time, just maybe trying to push myself to draw. And, sometimes you just get those waves of just wanting to be creative. Like, I can't wait till I'm done with work so I can just go and do whatever I want to do. But then there's other times when you want to give yourself like a mental break. And like, if you're working crazy hours, like, don't feel like, you're not a true artist if you don't spend every waking moment creating something.
Yeah.
But it's important to take breaks and important to have interest in other things other than artwork.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like a lot of people take so much stake in like everything that they do has to be so good, you know, and it has to be to their standard, like the best, the thing that they've come out with.
I mean, but it's like, it's important to play. Like,
yeah,
if you're going to play around, just doodle something or just create some short video about your cat. Like, it doesn't matter, just as long as you're creating. Like, who cares if it's a masterpiece every single time?
Right. Yeah. And everybody doesn't have to see everything you do all the time. Yeah. So that's fine too. You can just make something to make it. But
right. Like, it can be for yourself.
Yeah. Because is there something different between like creating a piece that you know, because you've done like books as well as like digital things. Is there like a certain difference of like what you can and can't do on each medium, or what will look good on each medium, like printed, like paper versus like on the internet or digitally?
I guess like the first thing that comes to mind, being someone who works with lots of vibrant colors, I think that's probably one of the big differences, is once that gets printed, it's like nowhere near the same amount of saturation. So that's one thing like I enjoy, is that when I post something online, it's like that's exactly how it looks, and that's how it looks in my head, versus when I print it out, it's like, oh, this is like kind of a duller version of what I was expecting. So maybe like color choice. Another thing is the ability to bring things to life through animation. You know, I mean, you can obviously still animate something that's printed, you know, through like flip books and things of that nature. But yeah, I would say maybe the colors you can use and how accurately they'll show up once you print them, and then the ability to move into moving things around and creating animations.
Yeah, because you do that as well. Is that a skill that you learned more recently, or have you had that for a while, like animating and like sort of manipulating your illustrations?
The first experience I had with that was in college. We had to take a course, a digital computer. It was some kind of course, like learning learning different Adobe programs, like kind of like intro to them. And we had to learn After Effects. So that was the first time I explored animation. But like my computer just could not keep up with rendering files.
Hefty program.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think this is going to be for me. So, but then I ended up having to create a lot of animated GIFs for my full-time job. So having to create a lot of stuff for clients revolving around animated GIFs for them, it made me want to try that out in my own work.
There's a bunch of them, but I saw the Rick and Morty one, which is something that I've started watching Rick and Morty recently. Yeah. It's great. It's a great show.
Very good.
Have you ever thought of like that being, not an end goal, but like creating a TV show or like illustrating for something like that?
Not really. I kind of like that goes into character design, which I'm not the best at. Like I can maybe doodle some of my own personal characters here and there, but I don't know if I really have an interest in creating a whole cast of characters for a show or coming up with the show. I mean, if anyone wants help with that, like, I guess I'm down to try something new, but it's not really something that is on my plate anyways.
You watch those animators and it seems like so much work.
Yeah.
It seems insane.
Nuts.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff over and over again too. I recently saw the post you made about the inequality in like the field of arts with only like, I think it said like what 3% of designers across all disciplines are Black.
Yeah.
That's insane. I did not know it was that low.
Like, I guess it's not super shocking, just being at some of the places I've been, there's not really, like, I don't really see any Black designers. So it wasn't shocking, but it was still kind of shocking at the same time, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
it wasn't shocking from like your personal experience because you kind of knew, but like seeing 3% is like really low. Yeah,
I'm like, damn, I didn't think it was that bad, and was hoping it wasn't that bad, but I guess it is.
Yeah. So what in your estimation, can people do to like help and like make this better? The interesting thing is do you know Arts at Large?
No.
So the episode's actually coming out this week, but I had the founder of Arts at Large, and basically what they do is they work with like NPS schools to get arts programs back into those schools. So they send like local artists and things like that to schools, and help teachers and facilitate the sort of arts education, which is really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But that would probably be one of the things that would help for sure. But is there any other things like in the art community, especially, that can help get that number to a more reasonable percentage?
I mean, for one, hire more Black people.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like, the obvious solution is bringing more diversity to your work team, and, looking at places that maybe you wouldn't normally look to hire, designers for your team or whatever it might be. Looking at, there's all kinds of websites that have like entire directories full of, or that are dedicated to creatives of color, like peopleofcraft.com is a great example. Like, that has an entire directory of creatives of color that are like illustrators, designers, photographers, like everything under the sun. So it's like looking into things like that, or trying different colleges, just like basically trying harder to find, Black creatives, instead of just being like, oh, well, no one came in through our door that was Black that wanted this job. So, try harder.
Did you find that it was like reflective of like your college experience too? Was it like very low as far as like the diversity in like MyAd?
I think my senior year, there was probably only a handful of Black creatives, at least from my graduating class. It felt like I was seeing more as the year was going on, though, at all different grade levels, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could probably do a little better in adding a little bit more diversity. But it seems like it's getting better from what I at least last saw.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about the bus art project, because ironically, I had Libby on the podcast. So is yours is still up, right? The project,
yeah.
like where its stop is that at? Do you know off the top of your head?
No.
Or even like what location or like what area?
It's in Bayview.
Okay.
I know that probably doesn't help either.
You can find them all, I think, on the website. I think. Yeah.
Just go to the bus art project. You'll figure it out. It's still up. I'm shocked that it's still up. I figured it had been taken down by now. Yeah,
it's a really cool project, though. How did you get involved in it?
Well, I actually met Libby at my first, I guess, art show that I'd participated in outside of college. It was called the Pancakes and Booze Art Show.
Nice.
And so I shared some work there, and I met her and connected with her there. And just later on down the road, she was telling me about this project that she wanted to do, where she wanted to work with a bunch of local creatives to design, whatever they want to go on these bus shelters. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to jump in on that. So
yeah. How did you find a piece? Did you make that piece specifically for that, or is that something you already had?
Oh, that was something I just made specifically for it. Yeah. I just wanted something that was fun, simple to digest, like large shapes and vibrant colors. And I guess one thing that I was trying to keep in mind is like those little dividers that are like in between the little glass panels on the shelters. So I just wanted something that, those maybe wouldn't like obstruct too much the overall design.
It's fun to run into them all over the city.
Yeah. Like there's a few in just the Bayview area alone that I pass by a lot whenever I take the bus to and from. So it's great to still see them, intact and not like defaced too much.
or stolen entirely. She told me that someone tried to take one of them.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Onto a bus, I think.
Yeah, they like common sense.
Of course.
Stealing from MCTS, and then you're getting on the bus with that stolen piece where there's cameras. And you did not think this through.
It's a free getaway vehicle. Well, right. Not free, but low cost.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there a particular project or a thing that you've done that you are most proud of, at least within the past couple of years that you've done?
I guess one that comes to mind is I wanted to collab with some of the other creative women that are like in my life that I know, or, maybe even some of the creative women that they know. It was a piece for International Women's Day. and I created this template of like these two hands like kind of coming together. And I told them that, like, here's this template, do whatever you want with it. Like, it's for International Women's Day. So if you want to do something that's like super pro women, like, go for it. If you just want to draw something funky, do whatever you want to do. Just make sure that those like hands are always together in that same position, because I'm going to take all these pieces and put them into like a super simple animation where it just kind of flips through each one. And you're just going to kind of see these different styles all pop up pretty quickly, but the hands will always be together. And so that was just super fun, seeing all the different styles that they came up with, or different directions they went with it, and how they all still worked so well together, even though they were all just completely different directions. Like, it was just cool seeing like these hands always being together regardless of what style they came up with.
Yeah, that is really cool. And so is that piece displayed anywhere specifically? Could people go see it?
Yeah, that one is on my Instagram.
Okay.
Ekpo_art.
How far back is that on your Instagram? Will it just scroll a little bit, or?
I don't think you have to scroll too far. I think I made that last year.
Okay.
So, and I mean, I don't post like every single day on Instagram, so you don't have to scroll too far.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't post really anywhere that often anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when you just get too busy, you don't have time to create new pieces to share. So, but
yeah, I think, it's really good to talk about the sort of like lack of diversity too in the arts too. And cause it's, it's one of those fields that's like, I'm in it and I didn't even realize that until you posted that, So it's just, I think it's important to talk about. And yeah, any other thoughts on it?
Continue giving a shit about it, and continue using your voice to talk about, things that matter, and using your platform to talk about things that matter and that need to be changed.
It's one of those things. It's like, it can't be like it's like people often get with social media or any sort of event where they just like they tune out after like 15 days and they're like, okay, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's how we got into this problem in the first place.
Right. It's like when stuff gets crazy, then it's like, okay, I care about the stuff that happens. And then as soon as it's not in the news anymore, it's like, okay, whatever, we'll go back to, what we were doing before.
Right. It's like, just because it's not affecting you, it doesn't mean that it's not affecting tons and tons of people on a daily basis.
Right. It's like, there's still lots of work to do. So just, saying that you acknowledge that something is a problem in society isn't enough. Like, you gotta donate, you gotta start taking part in some initiatives or supporting some initiatives, continue talking about it, correcting people when you notice that maybe something they're saying is out of line or incorrect, just staying on top of that stuff.
There's so much stuff you can do. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing of like, oh, well, I don't know what to do anymore. It's like, there's tons of things to do.
Right. It's like, and if you don't know what to do, you can Google that stuff.
Or you can ask someone.
A whole site that can give you like resources and ideas on what you can do.
Yeah. You use it every day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just use it for something a little bit better than usually.
Something. Yeah.
It's great. I'm so happy to have talked to you. It's funny that we worked together and never met. Yeah. So it was nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because so I'm almost sitting on the floor in our living room right now because the Wi-Fi is so bad in my office. I have to like move my whole desktop out into the living room to do this now. So it's been uncomfortable sitting here, but that's what you got to do. The price you pay.
Get some like comfortable seating, I guess, to have like for your makeshift office, I guess, when your Wi-Fi's down.
Yeah, I'm sitting on like a footstool right now.
So that does not sound comfortable.
those are the things that you got to do.
Right.
Keep the content going. But exactly. Before we go, where can people find your work and like all that?
You can find my work on my website, which is cekpo.com, CEKPO.com. And I also have an Instagram at @cekpo_art where you can find more of my work.
Yeah. And it's really awesome. I really love your work, and I am a fan. And you're also a lovely person to talk to. So
yeah, thank you. I didn't feel too awkward.
I try. Thank you. Have you done like podcasting interview stuff before?
No, this is actually the first one.
Yeah, I can claim that. I'm going to put it in the description.
Great.
No, but it's been a pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for taking the time. And your work is awesome. So everyone check it out. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.